Very good morning, dear students. So today I'll going to discuss about the introduction to computer system. Under introduction to computer system, today's topic that I'm going to discuss is a software. So software, what we find the software is that computer we can find this is an electronic device, and this particular device do understand the electronic pulses. So what is the electronic pulses? We can find that the flow of the electricity. That means how the electricity will going to flow and how they will going to work. So here we can find that we are denoting this particular thing. As we are denoting them, we find it there are the two pulse rate. We know it that the electricity flowing and not flowing, isn't it? Electricity flowing and not flowing. Electricity flowing and not flowing means 0 and 1. So what we find it that there are the only two different type of characters we are using, that is 1 and 0. So this the special language that we are using is a binary pattern of language. Okay, so in this binary form of language, what we find that when we are using zeros and ones, using those zeros and ones, the data or the binary language will going to frame. So as it will going to frame the data and binary language, after this particular thing we find it that there are the different types of other implementation that we can see, isn't it? So another implementation what we can find, we can see that in this particular implementation or in this particular area we do have different types of what binary number that we are using as a language. So binary number, as we are using it as a language, we find it that there is a bits means the binary digit. Okay, those the binary digit what we find combinations of zeros and ones. Those the zeros, there is some group they will going to form. What is the group? Like you see here, I am writing here in this blank area, suppose 0 1 1 0 then 1 1, this pattern of one group they will going to form. So when they will going to construct this particular pattern of group, we can see that those the particular device what we have, those the data what we are transmitting in a binary language, we find it that needed to be understood by whom? Understood by the computer. That means we will going to send the symbols, we will going to send the instruction in the form of a binary language. Now this the binary language what we find it that there will be someone who will going to do the work. So we see here there should be some interpreter or there must be a translator who will going to do this thing. So here what we can find, interpreter and translator is used in the machine level language to do the work in a vice versa form. That means machine level language is transmitted to the human understandable language, as well as human understandable language is been transmitted into the machine language, isn't it? So this is what we can say, this is what we can find, that each and every part when we are making them and when we are working them, we have those different patterns of structures, and those the different type of structures that we are working with, we make them workable and we make them that they can give a certain pattern of what, certain pattern of input, and those the input can be given as a output. So we are having those particular pattern of data input, and those the data input what we are giving, and then we are getting some output from there. Okay, so this is how we can see that we are working with this. Now when we are working with this, what we can find that there is a different types of softwares are there. What are they? Like there is an user application platform is there, there is an application platform is there, there is an operating system is there, and there is a hardware is there. So from here what we can see that they are bidirectional, they are connected with each other. Bidirectional means from user to the application, from application to the operating system, from operating system to the hardware, again from the hardware to the operating system, to the operating system applications, and then from applications to the user. So this is how we can find it, that as they has a bidirectional connectivity system, those the bidirectional connectivity system that we will going to have thing that we will going to find that will be broadly divided. Okay, so that we find that we find that we find that we will going to have this data and applications, and those the different type of softwares are there. What are the software we can find here? That we can see here, there is a system softwares and application software. Basically we can categorize in two ways. So those the two part that we find that we are using, so that we are using, that we are having those particular pattern of application, and we are making those applications to be workable. Okay, so this is what we see, this is what we can find, that we are taking a different type of task, isn't it? We are having a different pattern of task in our the work that we are conducting each and every time. So when we are having a different type of tasks, the daily use, that we find that we are coordinating with them, and we are making our work to be usable and to be understandable by everyone, isn't it? So when we want to make this, that means the data that we are giving through our hardware system, those the data what we are giving, the applications what we are giving, we find it that we are using the different type of documents tools, different type of presentations tools, different type of spreadsheet tools. So all these things what we can find that we are using them for our application purpose, isn't it? So even for our different types of the games that we are doing, isn't it, different patterns of the games that we are working with, that we are doing every day, we are playing with a different types of game. So each and every types and every pattern of game what we find, those the pattern of games will going to work, and we can see it that we will going to have a definite pattern of output there. Now when we are talking about this, one thing that we cannot leave it, that is a system software. Okay, system software as a name, that means there should be a system, there should be some system. So those the system what we find, those the system what we see, that in each and every system we are giving some software, we are having some software, that means we have some electronic devices there. So those the electronic devices what you see, what you find, that each and every electronic devices what is there, each and every electronic devices will going to have its impact in a different way or in a different manner. So this is the particular thing, this is the particular part as we are seeing, this is the particular sections as we are seeing, that we are having them and we are making it. So we have some specific guideline for it. Okay, so there what we find that when we do some work, that particular work has to be completed by going in a certain form. So when we have a physical component, when we have a computer system, so each and every system there we find that we do maintain or we do have some guidelines there, isn't it? So there are some instructions there, those the different pattern of instructions there, the collection of the programs there. So all those different pattern of instructions, the collection of the programs, what we find that each and every particular pattern of the program that we are having, every particular pattern of the data that we are working with, what we see is that each and every data that we have, each and every part of the data that we will going to have, that are being worked in a certain way or in a certain manner. Okay, so as it is working in a certain way or certain manner, we find it that we have a different type of controls. We are controlling the system, isn't it? So as we are controlling the system, so each and every control what we find that there can be the control that can be done in a different way or in a different manner. So as we find it that they has a different controls and different manners, these the particular controls what we find. So we will going to have this different pattern of controls, and we will going to have an attachment. What you are attaching? We are attaching the data, we are having the particular sections, and as we are having the particular sections that we find that we will going to have what we find that each and every sections what is there, each and every part what is there. So this the thing what we find it we are going to have that we are having those structures and we are working on this particular structures, isn't it? So this is the thing what we can have that when we are giving this when we are having this particular thing, those the particular attachment, okay, those the particular thing that we are making it out, we are finding it that there are different types of what data that we are having and different types of data that we are working with, isn't it? So internal data storage that we find, internal data storage that we see, that we are having so software systems. So this particular software system, what it will going to do, it will going to control the total computer system. It will going to find that how we will going to control the total system and how we can make the total system so we can find it that how we are going to have this particular system that we are having, okay. So in this particular area, in this particular part, that when we are having this particular structure, when we find that when we are having this particular structure, you can see here that the data what you are giving, data what you find it, that will going to be implemented, okay. Those the different type of data or different pattern of data, we are maintaining some system, the components must have some system, so it will needed to be controlled, okay. Positively the part that we find, that part is needed to be controlled. Now how we can summarize it? We can summarize that read the data instructions through the input device, translate the data instruction into the computer, understandable from and vice versa, control all the device attachment to the computer system, and process to generate on an output device. So here we find it that some of the common system we find: BIOS, basic input output device, operating system, OS, device drive, okay, and the language processor. So all this particular thing what we have, all this particular part that what we are going to have, we are having all these different type of structures, and we are working on this particular pattern of the structures that we have. Now when we are talking about the operating system, we can find it in the operating system there are some basic functionality that will going to come, isn't it? So basic functionality what we can find it in this particular functionality, we can have the different type of terms, okay. We can have a different patterns of terms, and in this particular different type of terms that where we are having the data, where we find it the data is operating, we find that there are the different components of the computer, so they are using directly from the different user ends. So some of the software what we can find that we do have it. So operating system is there, the system utility is there, the device drives is there. First operating system, in this particular part let us talk about the operating system. Operating system, what we can see that we can find there are the some implication or some implementation that we will going to have. So all this implementation and implication what we find, all this implementation and implication what we say, that operating system of this particular operating system, every system software has its own operating system. So this is the basic system what we find, that the software is there. Without the software we cannot work, isn't it? If there is no software is there, the program will not going to be done, the work will not going to be happen. So like Windows, Linux, Macintosh, Ubuntu, okay, all these different pattern of softwares we are having, and we help it to run the thing. Next, what we can find, that there is a system utility. System utility is what? The software which used to maintain the configurations of the computer system. There are the different type of configurations of the computer system we can find. So all those different patterns of configurations that we are finding, that we have to maintain those different patterns of configuration. So as we find it, that when we are having those different pattern of configuration, when we are having those different type of configuration, in those different patterns of configuration or type of configuration, as we are using it, as we are making the particular thing, we have our data and we are working on this particular data, isn't it? So as we are having those data and as we are working on this particular data, we find it that all this data what is there, all the part of the data what is there, that we are having the different type of defragmentation. Defragmentation means we are dividing it into a different part. Clear? So as we are dividing it into a different part, we find it those the system what is there, there are the different type of requirement. Requirement of what? Requirement of the shipping purpose. Shipping means what? Now shipping means here I am taking the thing from one part to another part. That is a shipping. Shipping means not only that you have a ship and you are transmitting the thing. That means it is known as the process or the way of transmission. That means how you are transmitting the data, how you are making the data from one particular part to the another part, how you are doing those particular system. So all this particular thing what you find, that is required when we are working on this particular system arena. Okay, next what we can find, that we have a device driver. Device driver means each of the device we can find there is one driver is there. What is the purpose of this device driver? It will ensure that there should be a proper function on a particular device, isn't it? There should be a proper function on a particular device. So as we are having a proper function on a particular device, we are overall working with it. We are finding that how this particular device is been working out, isn't it? So all this device function that we are having, that we find it how the component will going to work. We see it that there are different type of system that we are working with, and we are maintaining the different scenario means different platform which will help us to do the work in a very nice way, on a very effective way, isn't it? Those the effectiveness that we going to find, that each and every effectiveness what we have, we are finding that we have a different pattern of desire, we have a different type of instructions that we are giving. So as we are giving those different pattern of instructions, as we are making those different type of instructions, that each and every instruction what is there, each and every instruction part what we have the user interface, application software, program tools, isn't it? User, there should be some user interface, there should be application software, program tools, system utility should be there, operating system should be there, device processing is there, and hardware should be there. So maintaining all these things, maintaining all the part, what we can see that we can do the particular work and we can find how the particular work can be operated. Okay, so this is how you can see, this is how we can find that we are having this. Now when we are talking about the software, when we are finding that there are the different type of softwares are there, we are working with a different pattern of software. So we say it, first and foremost we do have an application software. Okay, application software, that means what you say it, that it handles some specific common task that we need to perform. It need to banking, like bank, hotel management, okay, different type of work what we find, all those different pattern of work will going to be controlled by it. Okay, so this is the part what we see, this is the part what we can see, that where we are having those different pattern of controls, and when we are having those basic controls, we are making the structures and we are working on this particular structures. Okay, next what we can find that we have a system software. System software means this will going to control the basic functions. The computer has a different type of functions. Computer hides the complexity of the computer system and use this particular application software. So each of this particular operation, each of this particular thing that we find, that we have an compiler, interpreter, all these things are there and they will going to work on this particular area. Fine. Next what we have, an utility software. Utility software means based on which you can get a different type of utility. Okay, based on which what you can get, you can manage the thing, based on which you can control the thing. Resources what is there, like antivirus software, isn't it? Backup of the software that we need to do. These are the different type of things that we find, that each and every part of this work we find it, that how we will going to have those software and how we are working on this particular software system. So this is the particular work that we see, how we are getting the structures and how we are maintaining it, isn't it? So this is the maintenance of the utility software, the resources that we have, different type of resources that we find, that each and every resources are there. We require the different type of resources and we need to implement those different patterns of resources. So see here, one thing I have discussed here, operating system, very common thing. We find there is a operating system is there. So this is a device. In this device we have different type of operating systems there, and those the operating system what we can find, it will going to manage the different type of resources, control the different pattern of resources. See here, this is Windows, this is a Linux, this is an Android, this is an iOS. So all these things, that means what it will going to control. You see here the monitor, the applications that we are giving, the disk drive, the mouse, the printer, the keyboard, all the thing what is there, everything will be controlled with the help of our operating system. That means everything will be controlled and we will going to get a different type of output from there. So today I am ending my session here. Thank you all.